Right then, just so you know, there's going to be postscripts. Right then, hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you happen to be. My name is Paul, I'm also called Knick-Knack, I'm the brains behind a daily brain teaser quiz called The Daily Teaser. I also talk about movies I've seen, and I will try and put my teasers and some movie reviews underneath a little eye in the corner there. I also talk about TV shows I've watched. I've recently started watching The Abominable Snowmen, a classic Doctor Who story, and I've also been watching Series 1 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And it's about the next episode that I saw last night.
It's 21:30.
Thank you, Katie. I watched episode 8 last night, The Elysian Kingdom, and I thought I should tell you what I thought of it. Episode 8, The Elysian Kingdom, opens with the traditional summary of earlier episodes and then moves to sickbay, where Dr. Mbenga, Babs Olusanmokun, is making an entry into his personal log, telling us that, as the Enterprise is now doing a scientific survey of the Genesian Nebula, there is little for he and sickbay to do. Given the free time, he plans on doing some more research into the disease that affects his daughter Rakia, Sage Arundel, and carry on reading of The Kingdom of Elysian, her favourite bedtime story. Once he finishes the current chapter, Rakia is gently put back to bed in the transporter buffer where Mbenga is slowing the cause of her disease. He goes off to do more research into the cyanocynemia that's slowly killing her. I need to get interrupted by number 1, Rebecca Romaine, who needs him to check on a returning landing party after she insists he get some sleep. Number 1 is very aware that the ship's chief medical officer needs a lot of rest, something that unfortunately is going to have to wait, as Mbenga is called to the bridge by Captain Pike, Anson Mount himself. Lieutenant Ortegas has been injured in the rush to try and get away from the nebula. When Dr. Mbenga gets to the bridge is exactly when he finds out exactly how serious. What had been the high-technology heart of the ship is now covered in flags, curtains, fires, and a crew done up as fairy tale courtiers, all of them bowing to him, King Ridley. Dr. Mbenga is more than a little confused. His days at medical school hadn't exactly prepared him for being crowned. Now, what did I make of the Elysian Kingdom? Is it good, bad, indifferent, on a par with the rest this first series has to offer, reminiscent of other episodes in what is a very big franchise? Let's get to that second point, shall we? Let's get it out of the way. Yes, you can loosely compare the Elysian Kingdom to other episodes in what is, after all, a 47 or so year old long-running franchise. There was something, from what I can remember, of Star Trek The Next Generation back in the day when it was still active. There was something of a running gag amongst fans that if the writers were feeling especially bored, rushed, or just plain lazy, this week's episode would be about a highly mission-critical repair in the holodeck. A Fistful of Datas, for example, Armand Bashir, and of course The Big Goodbye. They all basically featured a holodeck breakdown of some description. So that was one plot element of tonight's episode. The other 2 episodes running vaguely through my mind were the very similar classic and Next Generation episodes, The Naked Time and The Naked Now, both of which see the respective Enterprise crews behaving extremely out of character after various interstellar incidents. One's a disease, the other is a sun going nova, off the top of my head. But both episodes see those crews breaking out of character. And to be honest with you, looking at it with a little bit of time and distance to me, I feel the Elysian Kingdom is more of a combination of The Naked Now, with a malfunctioning holodeck. The various crew members are acting out of character because of outside forces, and doing so due to a plot that's been imposed by something. In this case, it's the fairy tale Dr. Mabenga's been reading his daughter. Arguably, we could say it's been done before. But then what makes this different, in part, something I can remember from watching The Naked Now, is that it was criticised by quite a few fans, from what I remember. Screened too early on in Star Trek The Next Generation's first series. It's the third episode off the top of my head. Fans felt we didn't have a chance to get to know the characters, nor how they were being out of character. They hadn't been established. It was the third episode. It was a fun episode to watch, but we hadn't seen the characters established. That is something the Elysian Kingdom addresses quite simply by being aired as the 8th episode in this series. We've had time to get to know the characters and see what they're like. We know Spock is a coolly rational, balanced advisor. He will give you the facts and the pros and the cons. He is not a scheming wizard that he turns into in this episode. We know Uhura, Celia Rose Gooding, is an eager-to-learn student. She's a cadet. She's rather that than the scheming ice queen that she comes over as in this episode. We know Lieutenant Ortegas, for example, to be a witty, confident officer and a witty, confident pilot, rather than an overprotective and ever so slightly homicidal bodyguard. We know Lan Noonien Singh is the tough security chief, rather than let's be bluntly honest here, rather than an extremely dippy debutante. So that air date, its position in the series, gives us greater insight into the characters, and we can see how they're being different, and we can even laugh at them with a certain amount of affection because we know what they're really like, and we see them acting out of character. Christina Chung doing a debutante routine, that's bloody hysterical. Really was quite something. I had fun watching her do that. At any rate, that's the tone of the episode. It's fun. It is genuinely fun. Granted, it has a genuinely bittersweet ending to it. Dr. Mabenga's much-loved daughter does not die, but she is happily cured of the illness that's very slowly killing her, only to be forced to stay in the nebula that the Enterprise is trapped in, as that's the only way to keep her cured. She's not dead. She's very much alive, very much having a good time, but she is no longer in the series, and she is separated from her much-loved father. What makes that ending worse, I think, or hammers it home much more effectively, is simply that the rest of the episode is, as I've said, fun. It's a light-hearted, beautiful, watchable episode. I honestly can't think, with the possible exception of Arman Bashir, think of an episode that is that light-hearted, but also manages to take itself seriously and treat its characters very respectfully. Which brings me, now we get to the end of this video, or towards the end of this video, it brings me back to my initial question. Is the Elysian Kingdom on a par with the best this first series has to offer? I can give you a qualified yes, I think, there. The first episode, Strange New Worlds, is a brilliant opening episode, and it's also a near par to Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach, the 6th episode, the one I compared to Le Guin. I grant you, I still think Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach is possibly one of the strongest bits of science fiction TV going, one of the strongest bits of TV going. But very near equals are both Strange New Worlds and the Elysian Kingdom. It is a very good, fun episode with a bittersweet ending to it. Frankly, it gives me a very good reason to watch yet another episode, and I'm going to be watching that, All Those Who Wander, on Friday the 8th of November, and I'll be posting my review of it on the 19th of November. I will see you then. I hope you'd care to see what I have to say, and please subscribe. Please enjoy the postscripts. Right, I mentioned footnotes, didn't I? I've got them at the bottom of the written version of this blog, which you can find hopefully in the corner, but it's just a couple of minor things. For a start, Uhura's costume as Queen Neve was one that had me thinking both of the Snow Queen and Narnia's White Witch. The way Celia Gooding played Queen Neve, the way she ended up draped on the throne, got me wanting to say good evening, Dr. Furter. Secondly, I have to ask if Ortegas, as presented in this episode, is part Klingon. She seemed a little, gung-ho. On point number 3, have you ever heard the phrase Sloane Ranger? It's sort of a posh English version of a valley girl. Posh, English, and very educated version of a valley girl that lives in Chelsea. Christina Chung as Noonien Singh as Princess Thalia is a Sloane Ranger as well as being a Deb.